Welcome to Chapter 10. This is all about project planning, which is an integral part of business activities. Very important. If you're building a house, you need to do project planning. Any construction work, any office management, any industrial work needs project planning. Brief introduction. Your learning intention for this particular part of the story is in 10A, precedence tables and activity networks, two components of project planning. And so your learning intention is to be able to work productively with those two components. Let's look at those two components in more details. On the left is an activity network, and on the right what we call something called a precedence table. We've met many kinds of networks. This network is just yet another one. In this case you will see that it is the edges of the network which have got labels, not the vertices, except for the start and the finish, which are labeled start and finish. So don't label vertices, label edges. There are 7 activities on the diagram on the left, and with the arrows that implies that activity A and B start, and then C can't start until A is finished, D and E can't start until B is finished, and so on. More formally, there we go. Edges are labelled and represent activities. Activity F, would you be able to say what its predecessors are? Activity F predecessors C and D. There. And note vertices are not labelled except the start and the end. 2 skills. One is to be able to produce a precedence table given an activity network, and the other will be the other way around. You'll be given a precedence table and asked to produce an activity table. Let's look at this one first of all. What we're going to do is fill in the table on the right. The way to do that, A and B both at the start, they've got no predecessors, so we can give that little line there. And C, the next one in the alphabet, has got predecessor A. D has got predecessor B. E has also got predecessor B. F has 2, it's got C and D. G also has 2, E and F. And that's it, not so hard. There it is more tidily. The other way around, drawing an activity network from precedence tables. Now this is slightly more problematic, and there's 2 ways that you can approach the problem, or a combination of the 2. Sometimes you start at the beginning of the table, up here, and sometimes you will start at the end of the table down here and work backwards. We're going to start at the beginning for this first one. A and B are the beginning of the activity network, so A and B join together at the start button and come off the start button like that, A and B. So that one's been done, that one's been done. Now C has got a predecessor of A, that's fairly straightforward. We notice that D is preceded by B, and so is E. Now we don't know what happens after that at this point, so I've just drawn them in. That's the equivalent of you drawing it by pencil, which means that you don't know exactly how they're going to join up or continue, but just put them in to start with. So we've now done that lot, and the next one we're going to do will be F, which is preceded by C and D. And now that tells us that F is actually going to come off C and D, which I'm going to cheat by drawing an F, and I'm going to select activity D and move it up like that. Now you'd have to redraw it, so rub yours out and do it again. Likewise, G is preceded by E and F. Well, we can see now that what we're going to have to do is draw in G and join up E to there. And we're done. That's what it looks like more tidily. Now, as I said, you can sometimes start at the end of the table, down the end, and work backwards. That's what we're going to do this time. You'll notice immediately that activity H, which you mustn't forget to draw as an activity of its own, but it's got 3 predecessors, E, F and G, so we've done that line, and that's it so far. And we've drawn E, F and G in, but we haven't said what they come off. Now looking at that, you can see that G comes off D, F comes off C, and E comes off B. Now I've just drawn them in. That would be the equivalent of you doing it in pencil. And then you will see that B, C and D, which we've just drawn, are all preceded by A, so in fact those 3 have got to be joined up and following after activity A. Now what does that look like? That. So B, C and D have now got a single source at the end of A. That doesn't have to be drawn exactly like that. You could have gone A and then B, C, D and then E, F and G and H like that. That would have been just as good. So that's the basics of drawing activity networks from precedence table. There is one complication, which is this. On the precedence table on the left, you can see that activity D is preceded by A and B, and E is preceded by B and C. Now when you see an activity appearing twice where there are also non-shared activities, so the two B's are shared, the A and the C are not shared, there is a need to draw something called a dummy activity. So I've drawn the A, B and C split off from the finish, the D and the E. The question is, how do we join them up? We want D to have activities A and B, but we want E to have activities B and C, and it's this thing here that's causing the problem. You can't have anything except single straight lines. Lines can't be split. So we create something called dummy activities. There's the first one gone in. D is preceded now by A and B by the dotted line. Likewise, we'll be able to draw E preceded by B and C, so that E will join up across there, and we need a dotted line down there. Let's see what it looks like tidily. There you go. So just check. A, B and C have got no predecessors. D is preceded by A and a dummy connection to B. E is preceded by C and a dummy connection to B also. Let's see if we can do that from scratch. As I said, look out for where there is an activity which is shared with a non-shared activity. So C is shared between E and F, but there's a non-shared activity D in there as well. So just look for those combinations of letters like that first of all. What has happened here is that we have drawn all the non-dummy activities in first. So A and B, fine. C is preceded by A. D is preceded by B, that's good. E is preceded by D, that's that one there, but not the dummy. F is preceded by C, that's fine. And G is preceded by E and F, so we go F and there. The only one we haven't drawn is the dummy activity. E is preceded by C as well as D, so down goes the dummy activity there. You can now see that E is preceded by C and D. Excellent. There it is more tidily. Only one more word about this. If you've been looking through the textbook and you come across this particular activity and table, we've looked long and hard at this. I think the best thing to do is to ignore the whole thing. Either the table is wrong or the network is wrong. They do not match up. If you are feeling adventurous, of course, then you could actually go and look in and tell us what is wrong with it and maybe suggest how to put it right. But otherwise, I would suggest what you do is you demonstrate that you can indeed work productively with activity networks and precedence tables and work your way through exercise 10A. Thank you.